Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm continuing my series review, The Book of the Damned by Charles Fort. As always, you can find all the episodes of the show, links to social media, and ways to listen to the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. And there are many ways to support the show. You can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can sign up for the Patreon feed and get extra content there for as little as $1 a month. You can also check out the merchandise store and get all kinds of shirts and other items with designs made by friends of the show. And support is never expected but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. Excuse me. And please follow friends of the show. That'd be Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel. And when she's able, she joins me on Saturdays as the co-host of this show. And also, hello there in the chat. Speaking of, Michael Strange of Trouble Minds Radio and the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows as well as my own online for free 24/7. And I believe that takes care of everything. So a couple of things I always like to mention when I do these shows where I'm reading and reviewing the works of Charles Fort. First off, there may be things in here. Well, first off, the words and thoughts that I'm reading here are those of Charles Fort and may not align with yours or my own thoughts. So just be aware of that. Also, there may be things that Ford talks about in his writing here that he sort of talks about them being mysterious or unexplained, but they may have been explained in the 100 years or so after the books came out since then. So if if you hear something and you wonder why Fort seems to think it's so strange or mysterious, that may be why. Also, I apologize in advance for mispronouncing words and names as I read all this, because words are hard, and also not all of the words and names in Fort's work are in English. So I want to apologize for that right away. And yes, I think we can get back to it now. We're actually on the very beginning of a chapter, which is nice. Makes it easy to find where I'm at and where I need to start. So, and thank you all for being here. And let me get back to the document, the book here, and I'll start reading. So this is chapter 14. So we're getting pretty far into this book. Of course, we still have 3 more books to go. But anyway, uh, reading now. We see conventionally, it is not only that we think and act and speak and dress alike because of our surrender to social attempt at entity, in which we are only supercellular. We see what it is proper that we should see. It is orthodox enough to say that a horse is not a horse to an infant any more than is an orange to the unsophisticated. It's interesting to walk along a street sometimes and look at things and wonder what they'd look like if we hadn't been taught to see horses and trees and houses as horses and trees and houses. I think that to supersight, they are local stresses merging in, indistinguishably into one another in an all-inclusive nexus. I think that it would be credible enough to say that many times have Mon- Monstrator and Alvera and Azurin crossed telescopic fields. These are all worlds he's sort of named in his idea of things coming down from the sky in other worlds. Crossed telescopic fields of vision, and we're not even seen because it wouldn't be proper to see them. It wouldn't be respectable, and it wouldn't be respectful. It would be insulting to old bones to see them. It would bring on evil influences from the relics of Saint Isaac to see them. But our data of vast worlds that are orbitless, or that are navigable, or that are adrift in interplanetary tides and currents. The data that we shall have of their approach in modern times within 5 or 6 miles of this earth. But then their visits or approaches to other planets or to other of the few regularized bodies that have surrendered to the attempted entity of this solar system as a whole. The question that we can't very well evade: have these other worlds or super constructions ever been seen by astronomers? I think there would not be much approximation to realness in taking refuge in the notion of astronomers who stare and squint and see only that which it is respectable and respectful to see. It is all very well to say that astronomers are hypnotics, and that an astronomer looking at the moon is hypnotized by the moon. But our acceptance is that the bodies of this present uh, present expression often visit the moon, or cross it, or are held in temporary suspension near it. Then some of them must often have been within the diameter of an astronomer's hypnosis. Our general expression that upon the oceans of this earth there are regularized vessels, but also that there are tramp vessels, that upon the super ocean there are regularized planets, but also that there are tramp worlds, that astronomers are like mercantile purists, who would deny commercial vagabondage. Well, that's quite the word. Our acceptance is that vast celestial vagabonds have been excluded by astronomers, primarily because their irresponsibilities are an affront to the pure and the precise, or to uh, attempted positivism, and secondarily because they have not been seen so very often. The planets steadily reflect the light of the sun. Upon this uniformity, a system that we call primary astronomy has been built up. But now the subject matter of advanced astronomy is data of celestial phenomena that are sometimes light and sometimes dark, varying like some of the satellites of Jupiter, but with a wider range. However, light or dark, they have been seen and reported so often that the only important reason for their exclusion is that they don't fit in. With dark bodies that are probably external to our own solar system, I have, in the provincialism that no one can escape, not much concern. Dark bodies afloat in outer space would have been damned a few years ago, but now they're sanctioned by Professor Barnard. And if he says they're all right, you may think of them without the fear of doing something wrong or ridiculous. The close kinship we note so often between the evil and the absurd. I suppose by the ridiculous, I mean the froth of evil. The dark companion of Algol, for instance, through though that's a clear case of celestial mis, mis, miscegenation. miscegenation. Uh, the purists or positivists admit that so. In the proceedings of the National Academy of Science, 1915-394, Professor Barnard writes of an object. He calls it an object in Cephas. His idea is that there are dark, opaque bodies outside this solar system, but in the Astrophysical Journal, 1916-1, he modifies into regarding them as, in quotation marks, dark nebulae, in quotation marks. That's not so interesting. We accept that Venus, for instance, has often been visited by other worlds or by superconstructions from which come ciders and coke and coal. Coke as in the materials. That sometimes these things have reflected light and have been seen from this this Earth by professional astronomers. It will be noted that throughout this chapter, our data are accursed Brahmins, as by hypnosis and inertia, we keep on and keep on saying, just as a good many of the scientists of the 19th century kept on admitting the power of the system that preceded them, or continuity would be smashed. There's a big chance here for us to be instantaneously translated to the positive absolute. Oh well. What I emphasize here is that our damned data are observations by astronomers of the there we go of the highest standing, uh, excommunicated by astronomers of similar standing, but backed up by the dominant spirit of their era, to which all minds had to equilibrate, equilibrate, huh, or be negligible, unsubmerged, or unheard, submerged. It would seem sometimes in this book as if our revolts were against the dogmatisms and pontifications of single uh, scientists of eminence. This is only a convenience because it seems necessary to personify. If we look over philosophical transactions or the publications of the Royal Astronomical Society, for instance, we see that Herschel, for instance, was as powerless as any boy stargazer to enforce acceptance of any observation of his that did not harmonize with the system that was growing up as independently of him and all other astronomers as a phase in the development of an embryo compels all cells to take on appearances concordantly with the design and the predetermined progress and schedule of the whole. Visitors to Venus. Evans, Ways of the Planets, page 140. That in 1645, a body large enough to look like a satellite was seen near Venus. And by satellite, I'm thinking they mean moon. He means moon. Because keep in mind, this is not, um, even when Fort's writing, this is not the age of mechanical satellites. Lost my spot. That in 1645, a body large enough to look like a satellite, there we go, found my spot, was seen near Venus. 4 times in the first half of the 18th century, a similar observation was reported. The last report occurred in 1767. A large body has been seen 7 times according to Science Gossip 1886-178, near Venus. At least one astronomer, Hozu, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, accepted these observations and named the world planet superconstruction Neith, Neith, in quotation marks. His views are mentioned, in quotation marks, in passing, but uh, without endorsement, in quotation marks, in the transactions of the New York Academy 5-249. Hauzu, or someone writing for the magazine section of a Sunday newspaper, Outer Darkness, for both alike. A new satellite in this solar system might be a little disturbing, though the formulas of Laplace, which were considered final in his day, have survived the admittance of 5 or 6 hundred bodies not included in those formulas. A satellite to Venus might be a little disturbing, but would be explained. But a large body approaching a planet and staying a while, going away, coming back some other time, anchoring, as it were. Azuria is pretty bad, but Azuria is no worse than Neith. Astrophysical Journal 1-127. Spot again. Let's see here. Oh, there you go. Maybe not. Hang on. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go. A light reflecting body or a bright spot near Mars, seen November 25th, 1894, by Professor Pickering and others at the Lowell Observatory above an unilluminated part of Mars. Self-luminous, it would seem, thought to have been a cloud, but estimated to have been about 20 miles away from the planet. And that's where we're going to stop with that. So here we're getting into, again, strange sightings of things out in space that do not fit or did not fit the ideas of the times, the 16, 17, 1800s here. So this is always a lot of fun to read, and for a lot of reasons, just to see the thoughts of those times and compare them to what's going on now. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.